My father slammed his fist on the dinner table so hard that the wine glasses jumped. "Apologize to your sister right now, or get out of my house." His face was red with fury as he pointed at Amanda, who sat there with perfect crocodile tears streaming down her cheeks. She had just finished telling him how I deliberately sabotaged her investor presentation earlier that day, making her look incompetent in front of potential partners who could have brought millions to our family construction business. The whole story was complete lies, but I could see in his eyes that he had already chosen to believe her version over mine. When I opened my mouth to defend myself with the evidence I had, he cut me off. "I don't want to hear your excuses, Bryce. Your sister has an MBA and she knows what she's talking about." I looked at Amanda's smirking face, then back at my father's disappointed expression, and made a decision that would change everything. I stood up calmly, looked him straight in the eyes, and said just one word: "All right." Walking up the stairs to pack my things, I couldn't help but think about how perfectly Amanda had orchestrated this whole situation. For the past 5 years, I had built our family construction company from a small local contractor into a major regional player. I developed every piece of digital infrastructure we used, from project management software to client relationship systems. I created the automated bidding process that won us contracts worth millions of dollars. I designed the quality control protocols that earned us industry awards and 5-star reviews from every major client. But none of that mattered to my father when Amanda returned home 3 months ago with her shiny new MBA and grand plans to become the company's next CEO. She had immediately started positioning herself as the future leader, despite having zero experience in construction or technology. The conflict that led to tonight's explosion began 2 weeks ago when Amanda announced she would be presenting a proposal to Sterling Development Group, one of the largest property investment firms in the state. The proposal was for Riverside Luxury Estates, a high-end housing development that Amanda claimed would generate $15 million in revenue over 18 months. From the moment she described her vision, I knew the numbers were completely unrealistic. The timeline she proposed would require completing 1 luxury home every 2 weeks, which was physically impossible given our current workforce and equipment. The budget estimates were off by at least 40%, failing to account for seasonal weather delays, permit processing times, and the specialized labor required for luxury finishes. I spent 3 entire weekends helping Amanda prepare accurate technical data for the presentation. I created detailed spreadsheets showing realistic construction timelines, proper cost calculations, and achievable quality standards. I explained why luxury home construction requires specialized subcontractors who charge premium rates and have limited availability. I even provided her with case studies from our previous high-end projects to demonstrate typical challenges and solutions. But Amanda ignored every piece of advice I gave her. She kept the inflated numbers because they sounded more impressive. She shortened the timeline because she thought it would show efficiency. She cut the budget because she wanted to underbid competitors. When I warned her that the proposal would make us look either incompetent or dishonest, she laughed and said the investors would be so excited by the potential profits that they would not scrutinize the details too closely. The presentation was scheduled for 3 o'clock this afternoon. I was not invited to attend, which should have been my first warning that Amanda was planning something. At 4:30, she stormed back into the office, her face red with embarrassment and anger. The Sterling Development executives had not just rejected our proposal, they had actually laughed when she presented the timeline. One of them asked if she had any experience in construction, and another wondered aloud if our company was serious about the project or just wasting their time. Instead of admitting her mistakes, Amanda immediately called our father and tearfully explained that I had sabotaged her presentation by providing false technical data. She claimed I was jealous of her education and success, and that I had deliberately given her information designed to make her fail. She said I was threatened by the possibility of working under a woman and was trying to destroy her career before it could begin. By the time I returned from a client meeting at 5 o'clock, my father was already convinced that I was the villain. He refused to look at the email chains where I had repeatedly warned Amanda about the unrealistic projections. He dismissed the text messages where I had begged her to let me review the proposal before the presentation. He would not listen when I explained that I had spent my entire weekend trying to help her succeed. The truth was that Amanda had planned this scenario from the beginning. She knew the proposal was terrible, but she also knew that failing spectacularly would give her the perfect opportunity to eliminate me from company leadership. She could play the victim of my supposed sabotage while positioning herself as someone who needed protection from her jealous and destructive brother. It was a calculated move designed to remove her biggest obstacle to taking control of the family business. As I folded my clothes and packed my laptop, I realized that defending myself was pointless. My father had made his choice based on emotion rather than evidence, and nothing I could say would change his mind tonight. But I had been preparing for this possibility longer than anyone realized, and Amanda's betrayal had just given me the perfect justification to execute a plan that would teach my family exactly how much they needed me. As I packed my belongings into 2 large suitcases, I opened my laptop and reviewed the comprehensive file I had been building for the past 6 months. The folder was labeled Documentation and contained over 200 pages of evidence showing Amanda's pattern of incompetence, manipulation, and credit theft since her return from business school. I had screenshots of emails where Amanda took credit for software improvements I had developed. I had recorded phone conversations where she promised clients features and timelines that were technically impossible without consulting me first. I had expense reports showing she had charged personal purchases to company accounts, including a $5,000 shopping trip she claimed was for professional wardrobe development. I had meeting notes documenting her attempts to override safety protocols I had established to reduce liability and insurance costs. The most damaging evidence was a series of recordings from our weekly management meetings. In these sessions, Amanda consistently demonstrated that she did not understand basic construction principles, project management fundamentals, or the technology systems that ran our operations. She would make suggestions that violated building codes, propose scheduling changes that would delay projects by weeks, and demand budget adjustments that would eliminate our profit margins entirely. But I had not been collecting this evidence out of paranoia or spite. I had been preparing for the inevitable moment when Amanda's incompetence would create a crisis that threatened the entire company. I wanted to be ready to prove that her failures were the result of poor judgment rather than external sabotage. I never expected that moment would come in the form of a false accusation designed to destroy my reputation and career. While folding my shirts, I received 3 text messages that changed everything about my situation. The first was from Marcus Wellington, the lead investor from Sterling Development who had attended Amanda's disastrous presentation. His message was brief but stunning. Bryce, after today's meeting, we're more interested in working with you directly than through your family company. Would you consider starting your own construction technology firm? We have funding available for the right team. The second message came from Sarah Chen, our company's top project manager and someone I had worked closely with for 3 years. Her warning made my blood run cold. Heads up. Amanda has been telling clients that you're mentally unstable and will probably be leaving soon. She's trying to transfer your relationships to herself. Thought you should know what she's been saying behind your back. The third message was from my attorney, confirming something I had suspected but never investigated. According to the employment contract I signed when I became Chief Technology Officer, I retained full ownership rights to any software, systems, or intellectual property I developed during my tenure. This meant that the project management platform, client database, and automated workflows that powered our entire operation were legally mine, not the company's. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at these 3 messages, and realized that Amanda's betrayal was far more extensive than I had imagined. She had not just lied about the failed presentation. She had been systematically working to destroy my professional reputation and steal my client relationships for weeks. This was not a sibling rivalry that had gotten out of hand. It was corporate espionage designed to eliminate me from the industry entirely. I walked over to my desk and found a printed email that confirmed my worst suspicions. The paper was covered in Amanda's handwriting, with notes about which clients to contact and what to tell them about my supposed departure from the company. She had been intercepting my communications with major clients and redirecting them to her personal email address. She had scheduled meetings with our top 3 contractors to discuss leadership transitions without my knowledge. She had even prepared a press release announcing my resignation due to personal health issues that would require extended recovery time. The email proved that Amanda had never intended to work alongside me or share leadership responsibilities. From the moment she returned home with her MBA, she had been planning to eliminate me completely and take credit for everything I had built. Tonight's confrontation was just the final step in a plan she had been executing for months. I made 4 phone calls while finishing my packing. The first was to my attorney, asking him to prepare documentation proving my ownership of all intellectual property I had developed. The second was to Marcus Wellington, accepting his invitation to discuss a partnership opportunity. The third was to Sarah Chen, asking her to document any further attempts by Amanda to interfere with client relationships. The fourth was to our company's main software vendor, requesting written confirmation that all licensing agreements were in my name rather than the company's. As I loaded my suitcases into my car, I was not driving to a hotel or a friend's apartment. I was heading to Marcus Wellington's downtown office for a midnight meeting that would determine whether I spent the next year rebuilding my career or the next decade recovering from the damage Amanda had inflicted on my reputation. My father's decision to kick me out had just accelerated a plan I had been developing since the day Amanda returned home, and I was about to discover exactly how much support I had from people who actually understood the value of my work. Marcus Wellington's office occupied the entire 40th floor of the First National Bank building, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a spectacular view of the city skyline. When I arrived at 11:45, I was surprised to find 2 other people waiting with Marcus: Janet Morrison, CEO of Pinnacle Property Group, and Robert Hayes, founding partner of Hayes Construction Capital. These were 3 of the most influential people in the regional construction and development industry, and they were all there to meet with me. "Bryce, thank you for coming on such short notice," Marcus said, gesturing toward a leather chair at the head of a polished conference table. "We've been hoping to have this conversation for months, but tonight's events convinced us that waiting any longer would be a mistake." Janet leaned forward with a sympathetic expression. "We all witnessed what happened at today's presentation, and frankly, we've been concerned about the direction of your family's company for some time. Your sister's proposal was not just unrealistic, it bordered on fraudulent misrepresentation." Robert opened a thick folder and spread several documents across the table. "We've been reviewing your work for the past 2 years, Bryce. The software systems you developed have revolutionized project management efficiency in our industry. The quality control protocols you established have become the standard that other companies try to copy. Your innovations have saved our projects millions of dollars and countless hours of wasted time." Marcus activated a recording device and placed it in the center of the table. "What I'm about to share with you is going to be shocking, but we need you to understand the full scope of what's been happening behind the scenes. We've been recording all our interactions with your company for legal protection, and what we captured today goes far beyond a failed presentation." He pressed play, and Amanda's voice filled the room. The recording was from a private conversation she had with Marcus before the formal presentation began. In it, she laughed about how Bryce does all the technical work while I handle the real business decisions. She admitted that the numbers in her proposal were optimistic but said she planned to figure out the details later after securing the investment. Most damaging, she explicitly stated that she intended to restructure the company leadership once she proved herself with a major deal, which meant firing me and taking full control. That recording proves she knew the proposal was based on false information, Janet explained. If we had invested based on her misrepresentations, it would have constituted securities fraud. We could have lost millions of dollars and faced regulatory investigations. Robert produced another set of documents. But the recordings get worse. Listen to this conversation from last week. The second recording captured Amanda talking to someone on the phone about her strategy for removing me from the company. She described how she had been preparing the groundwork by telling clients I was unreliable and might be leaving soon. She bragged about intercepting my emails and redirecting client communications to herself. Most shocking, she laughed about how Dad believes everything I tell him and said she could easily convince him that I was sabotaging her career out of jealousy. "This isn't just incompetence," Marcus said grimly. "Your sister has been engaging in deliberate corporate sabotage and client theft. She's been systematically working to destroy your professional reputation while positioning herself to steal everything you've built." Janet slid a business proposal across the table. "We want to offer you $2 million in startup funding to launch your own construction technology company. Based on our analysis, you could capture 30% of the regional market within 18 months by focusing on the innovations that larger companies have been too slow to adopt." The proposal was incredibly detailed, showing projected revenues, staffing plans, and client acquisition strategies. They had already identified office space in a prestigious downtown building and had preliminary agreements with 3 major property development firms to become founding clients. They had even researched the legal requirements for transferring my intellectual property to a new company. "There's one more thing," Robert said, producing a final folder. "We've been in contact with several of your current clients, and they've all expressed frustration with your sister's recent behavior. Morrison Plaza specifically requested that you be removed from their project because Amanda kept making unauthorized changes to agreed-upon specifications. Riverside Shopping Center threatened to terminate their contract because Amanda approved work that wasn't in the budget, creating cost overruns of nearly $200,000. Marcus paused the recording and looked directly at me. "Your clients don't want to work with your family company anymore, Bryce. They want to work with you. We can guarantee that at least 6 major projects will transfer to your new company within 60 days of launch, representing over $10 million in confirmed revenue." The offer was beyond anything I had imagined possible. Not only would I be free from Amanda's sabotage and my father's favoritism, I would actually be in a better position than I had ever been at the family business. I would own my technology completely, work with clients who respected my expertise, and have the financial backing to expand into markets that had been impossible to reach as a small family company. But there was one ethical consideration that troubled me deeply. The client database and project management software I had developed contained 5 years of detailed information about vendors, subcontractors, pricing strategies, and trade secrets that would give a competing company an enormous advantage. Using that information would be legal since I owned the software, but it felt like crossing a line that I could never uncross. "I need 24 hours to think about this," I said finally. "This decision will change everything about my life and my relationship with my family. I want to be certain I'm making the right choice for the right reasons." Marcus nodded understandingly, but his expression was serious. "I respect that, Bryce. But there's something you need to know. Amanda has scheduled an emergency staff meeting for 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. According to our sources, she plans to announce that you've resigned due to mental health issues and that she will be taking over all your responsibilities permanently. She's prepared documentation claiming you've been exhibiting erratic behavior and paranoid thinking for weeks," Janet added. She has also scheduled individual meetings with your top 5 clients tomorrow afternoon to explain your departure and assure them that the transition will be seamless under her leadership. If you don't act quickly, she'll have completely destroyed your professional reputation before you have a chance to defend yourself. I realized that while I was agonizing over the ethics of competing with my family, Amanda was already implementing a plan to eliminate me from the industry entirely. I had less than 8 hours to decide whether to fight back or allow myself to be destroyed by someone who had been systematically betraying me for months. "He'll give you my answer by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning," I promised, knowing that the next few hours would determine not just my career, but the entire future direction of my life. I returned to the family home just as the sun was rising, planning to quietly retrieve a few items I had forgotten the night before. But as I unlocked the front door, I found Amanda sitting at the kitchen table, wide awake and surrounded by legal documents, printed emails, and what appeared to be a resignation letter with my name already typed at the bottom. "Good morning, brother," she said with a satisfied smirk that made my stomach turn. "I was hoping you'd come back before the staff meeting. We need to discuss your transition out of the company, and I think you'll find my offer very reasonable." She gestured to the chair across from her, and I could see that she had prepared for this conversation as carefully as a lawyer preparing for trial. The resignation letter was accompanied by a generous severance package worth 6 months of salary, along with a non-compete agreement that would prevent me from working in construction technology for 2 years. She had also prepared a press release explaining that I was taking extended medical leave to address stress-related health issues. "I've already sent emails to our major clients explaining that you've been struggling with work-related anxiety and have decided to step back from day-to-day operations," Amanda continued, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Everyone has been very understanding and supportive. They're all looking forward to working with me directly going forward." She slid her laptop across the table to show me the messages she had sent. The emails were masterfully written, expressing concern for my well-being while subtly suggesting that I had been overwhelmed by the responsibilities of my position. She had included quotes from our father supporting the decision and assuring clients that the company would be more stable under her leadership. "The best part," Amanda said, clearly enjoying her moment of triumph, "is that everyone already suspected something was wrong. You've been working such long hours, staying late at the office, being defensive about your projects. People have been worried about you for weeks." I realized that Amanda had been laying the groundwork for this character assassination much longer than I had suspected. Every late night I spent perfecting project specifications she had framed as evidence of unhealthy obsession. Every time I insisted on maintaining quality standards, she had portrayed as paranoid perfectionism. Every instance where I defended my work against her interference, she had described as aggressive and unstable behavior. "I've also taken the liberty of securing all our client files and project data," Amanda continued, opening another folder. "I spent most of last night copying everything from your computer to secure drives so there won't be any interruption in service. Our clients' information will be completely safe during the transition." This was the moment when Amanda made the critical mistake that would destroy her entire plan. In her arrogance and excitement about her perceived victory, she had just admitted to illegally accessing my computer and stealing proprietary data. What she did not know was that my software system automatically logged every access attempt, created backup records of any data transfers, and generated detailed forensic reports that could be used as evidence in legal proceedings. But more importantly, she had no idea that I was recording our entire conversation on my phone, capturing her confession to corporate data theft, along with her admission that she had been deliberately damaging my reputation with clients and employees. "If you sign these documents this morning," Amanda said, pushing the papers toward me, "everyone will remember you as someone who made the responsible choice to prioritize your health and family relationships. But if you try to fight this or cause problems, He'll have no choice but to file a police report, claiming you threatened me and attempted to steal company property. I have witnesses who will support my version of events. The threat was delivered with such casual cruelty that I finally understood the depth of Amanda's hatred and ambition. She was not just trying to advance her own career. She was actively trying to destroy mine. She wanted me completely eliminated from the industry, with my reputation so damaged that no reputable company would ever hire me. You see, Bryce, she continued, her mask of fake concern slipping away. I've been planning this since the day I graduated business school. You might have built the technology that runs this company, but I have the education and leadership skills to take it to the next level. The only thing holding us back was your refusal to accept that times have changed and that I'm better qualified to run operations. Amanda leaned back in her chair with complete confidence. Dad has already agreed to make me Chief Operating Officer as soon as you're gone. The board of directors supports the transition. Our insurance company prefers having someone with formal business training in charge. Even our bank has expressed more confidence in the company's future under my leadership. She had clearly spent months building political support for my removal while I was focused on actually running the business. While I was working with clients and developing new systems, she was having lunches with board members and cocktail meetings with investors. While I was solving technical problems and managing projects, she was crafting a narrative that painted me as an obstacle to the company's growth and stability. So, what's it going to be, brother? Amanda asked, tapping her pen on the resignation letter. Are you going to sign these papers and leave quietly with your dignity intact? Or are you going to force me to destroy your reputation completely before throwing you out anyway? I looked at her smug, confident face and realized that she truly believed she had won. She thought I was broken and defeated, with no choice but to accept her terms and disappear quietly. She had no idea that her confession to data theft was being recorded, that her victim narrative was about to collapse, or that I had spent the entire night planning a counterattack that would expose every lie she had told. I stood up slowly, looked directly into her eyes, and said the exact words she expected to hear. All right. Amanda's smile widened as she prepared to savor her complete victory. She had no idea that in less than 3 hours, her world would begin collapsing in ways she could never have imagined. I went upstairs to my home office and sat down at my computer for what would be the last time in this house. Amanda thought she had won completely, but she had no idea that I had been preparing for this moment for months. Hidden within the software system I had created was a master security protocol that I had designed originally as protection against hackers and data theft. I had never expected to use it against my own family, but Amanda's confession to stealing company data had just given me the perfect justification. The security shutdown protocol was elegant in its simplicity and devastating in its consequences. When activated, it would not only lock down every computer and system in the company, it would also generate detailed forensic reports showing exactly who had accessed what information and when. More importantly, it would automatically send documentation of any unauthorized data transfers to our legal department, board of directors, and every client whose information had been compromised. I opened the master control panel and began typing the authorization codes that would trigger the irreversible security lockdown. The system prompted me 3 times to confirm my decision, warning that once activated, the protocol could not be stopped or reversed. I thought about Amanda sitting downstairs, preparing to present herself as the company's new technology leader to a room full of employees who had no idea she could not even operate the basic systems that ran our daily operations. At exactly 7:45, 15 minutes before Amanda's staff meeting was scheduled to begin, I entered the final authorization code. Across the city, every computer in our office building immediately displayed the same message. UN authorized. Access detected. System locked for security review. All data transfers have been logged and reported to legal authorities. The message included detailed timestamps and user identification codes showing exactly when Amanda had accessed restricted client files and copied them to external storage devices. It also displayed a summary of her recent activities, including her attempts to modify client contact information to redirect communications to her personal email address. But the real genius of my security protocol was its automatic reporting system. Within minutes of the lockdown, detailed forensic reports were being sent to every client whose data had been compromised. The reports included specific information about what files Amanda had accessed, when she had copied them, and how she had attempted to modify client communication preferences without authorization. Our liability insurance carrier also received automatic notification of the potential data breach, triggering an immediate investigation that would require Amanda to prove she had legitimate authority to access the information she had stolen. The company's board of directors received detailed logs showing her unauthorized activities over the past several weeks, along with recordings of her admissions that she had been intercepting client communications and planning to eliminate me from company leadership. I could picture the chaos beginning to unfold at the office as Amanda tried to start her presentation and discovered that none of the technology systems would respond to her commands. The project management software she claimed to understand was completely inaccessible. The client database she had planned to use for her new relationships was locked behind security warnings that specifically mentioned her unauthorized access attempts. The phones were displaying error messages because Amanda had not realized they were integrated into my unified communication system. The accounting software was frozen because it was connected to the same security protocols that protected client information. Even the basic email system was locked down because Amanda's data theft had triggered comprehensive security measures that affected every connected device and application. But the most devastating aspect of my counterattack was still in progress. The security system was automatically generating a detailed report of Amanda's activities and sending it to every major construction industry publication, trade association, and professional organization in our region. The report included audio recordings of her admitting to data theft, email evidence of her attempts to damage my reputation, and documentation of her false claims about company capabilities and project timelines. 20 minutes after I activated the lockdown, my phone rang. It was James Rodriguez, the company's lawyer, and his voice was filled with panic. "Bryce, please tell me you can stop whatever is happening with the computer systems," he said desperately. Amanda called me in a complete panic, saying everything is locked down and there are security warnings everywhere. But that's not the worst part. He paused, and I could hear papers rustling in the background. The system sent an automated email to Construction Industry Weekly, Regional Building Association, and about 15 other trade publications. The email details what it calls significant security breaches and data theft by a company executive. It includes audio recordings and document evidence that could destroy Amanda's reputation permanently. James sounded like he was on the verge of a heart attack. The subject line reads, "Security, breach alert, data theft, and client information compromise." This is going to be published in industry newsletters that reach every major contractor, developer, and supplier in 3 states. Is there any way to stop this from going public? I explained calmly that the security protocol was designed to be irreversible once triggered, specifically to prevent hackers or unauthorized users from covering their tracks after stealing sensitive information. The automated reporting system would continue sending updates to industry organizations and regulatory agencies for the next 72 hours, ensuring that Amanda's actions would be thoroughly documented and investigated. "James," I said, "Amanda confessed to me this morning that she illegally accessed my computer and copied client files to external drives. She also admitted to intercepting client communications and planning to file false police reports if I refused to resign quietly. The security system did exactly what it was designed to do when it detected corporate data theft. There was a long silence before James responded. Bryce, if what you're saying is true, then Amanda has violated multiple federal and state laws regarding data protection and corporate espionage. The company could face massive lawsuits from clients whose information was compromised, and Amanda could face criminal charges for theft of trade secrets. I could hear Amanda's voice in the background, screaming at James to fix this immediately and demanding to know how to override the security system. I almost felt sorry for her as I realized she still had no idea that the lockdown was permanent and that there was absolutely nothing anyone could do to restore the systems or stop the industry-wide publication of her crimes. There's one more thing, James, I added. I'm resigning from the company effective immediately, and I'm taking all my intellectual property with me. The software system that's currently locked down belongs to me personally, not to the company. Amanda just destroyed the technological foundation that our entire operation depends on. The consequences of Amanda's actions cascaded faster than anyone had anticipated. Within 2 hours of the security lockdown, our 3 largest clients called emergency meetings to terminate their contracts immediately. Morrison Plaza, Riverside Shopping Center, and the Downtown Convention Center expansion all cited security concerns and complete loss of confidence in the company's leadership as reasons for ending their relationships. But the clients were not just terminating existing contracts. They were specifically requesting to work with me at whatever new company I decided to join. Marcus Wellington had apparently been in contact with all of them throughout the night, and they were prepared to transfer their projects to my new firm as soon as the legal paperwork could be completed. Sarah Chen called me directly to report what was happening at the office. Bryce, it's complete chaos here. Amanda tried to give her presentation to the staff, but she couldn't access any files or demonstrate any of the systems she claimed to understand. When people started asking technical questions about project management and client relationships, she completely fell apart. Sarah's voice was filled with a mixture of admiration and shock, but the real drama started when employees began coming forward with stories about Amanda's behavior over the past few months. It turns out everyone knew she was incompetent, but they were afraid to say anything because she's the boss' daughter. The revelations were devastating. Tom Murphy, our head carpenter, revealed that Amanda had been forcing crews to work unpaid overtime to fix mistakes in her project specifications. Lisa Zhang, our safety coordinator, disclosed that Amanda had repeatedly tried to override safety protocols to speed up construction timelines, potentially exposing the company to massive liability lawsuits. Most damaging was the testimony from our accounting department. Helen Wright, our head bookkeeper, revealed that Amanda's projects had consistently run 50% over budget due to her failure to account for realistic material costs, labor requirements, and permit processing times. The company had absorbed nearly $300,000 in losses over 3 months because Amanda had approved work that was not included in client contracts. The employees are actually relieved that she's been exposed, Sarah continued. Everyone was worried that her incompetence would eventually bankrupt the company or get someone injured on a job site. They're asking if there's any way you can come back and fix the mess she created. But the professional consequences were only part of Amanda's downfall. By noon, the story of her data theft and false accusations had spread throughout the entire construction industry. The Regional Building Association announced they were launching an ethics investigation into her practices based on formal complaints from 3 subcontractors who had not been paid because Amanda had approved unauthorized work that exceeded project budgets. Amanda's personal life was also collapsing under the weight of her professional scandals. Her engagement to Bradley Morrison, whose family owned Morrison Development Corporation, ended abruptly when his parents refused to associate their company with someone under investigation for corporate theft and fraud. Her MBA alumni network quietly removed her from professional groups to avoid any connection to the growing scandal. The local business journal published a detailed article titled "Construction Company Executive Under Investigation for Data Theft and Client Fraud," which included quotes from multiple industry leaders expressing concern about Amanda's business practices. The article specifically mentioned that several clients had complained about her erratic communication style and apparent lack of understanding of basic construction principles. Meanwhile, my phone was ringing constantly with opportunities that Amanda's destruction had inadvertently created. Pinnacle Property Group offered me a consulting contract worth $200,000 to help them implement better project management systems. Hayes Construction Capital wanted to hire me to audit their current technology infrastructure. Even competitors who had previously seen our family company as a threat were now calling to discuss partnerships and joint ventures. The contrast between Amanda's collapse and my sudden success was stark and immediate. While she was facing ethics, investigations, and potential criminal charges, I was being courted by every major player in the regional construction industry. While her reputation was being destroyed in trade publications, my expertise was being validated by clients who specifically requested to work with me rather than any other technology consultant. But the most dramatic moment came when my father finally understood the full scope of what had happened. James Rodriguez brought him the complete forensic report showing Amanda's illegal activities, along with the audio recordings where she admitted to planning his manipulation and my destruction. For the first time, he heard her laughing about how Dad believes everything I tell him and describing her strategy to eliminate me from the company entirely. The look on his face when he realized how completely he had been deceived was something I would never forget. Amanda had not just betrayed me. She had manipulated and lied to him for months, using his love and trust as weapons in her campaign to steal everything I had built. "Oh my God," he whispered, reading the transcripts of Amanda's recorded confessions. "She played me like a fool. Everything she told me about you was lies designed to turn me against my own son. But the damage was already irreversible. The family business was hemorrhaging clients, facing multiple lawsuits, and operating without any of the technology systems that had made it competitive. The employees who remained were updating their resumes and looking for new jobs. The bank was questioning the company's ability to service its existing loans without the revenue from terminated contracts. Amanda, desperate and facing complete professional ruin, finally tried to call me that evening. Her voice was shaking as she begged me to restore the computer systems and help save what remained of the company. "Bryce, I'm so sorry," she sobbed into the phone. "I made terrible mistakes, and I hurt you in ways I can never take back. But please don't let the whole company collapse because of what I did. There are 12 families who depend on these jobs, and they don't deserve to suffer because I was stupid and jealous." I listened to her apology and felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. The satisfaction came from knowing that justice had been served and that her lies had been exposed completely. The sadness came from realizing that our family relationship had been destroyed by her ambition and our father's favoritism, and that some damage could never be repaired. "Amanda," I said quietly, "the security lockdown is permanent and irreversible. There is no way to restore the systems, and there is no way to undo what you did to our clients' trust and confidence. You destroyed the company when you decided to steal client data and lie about everything I had built." The silence that followed was filled with the weight of consequences that Amanda was only beginning to understand. She had gotten exactly what she wanted, complete control of the family business, but there was nothing left to control. 6 months later, I stood in the conference room of Summit Construction Technologies, looking out at the downtown skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a spectacular view of the city I was helping to rebuild. My company occupied the entire 22nd floor of the Meridian Tower, with modern offices that housed 15 employees, including 7 people who had left the family business to work with me. The transformation had been remarkable in both its speed and its scope. Summit Construction Technologies had become the fastest-growing construction technology firm in the region, managing 18 major projects with a waiting list that extended 6 months into the future. Our innovative approach to project management and quality control had attracted attention from companies across 3 states, and we had been featured in Construction Technology Quarterly as an example of how family businesses could evolve into industry leaders. The success was gratifying, but what meant more to me was the knowledge that it had been built on integrity, competence, and honest relationships, rather than manipulation and false promises. Every client who worked with us knew exactly what to expect in terms of timeline, budget, and quality. Every employee was treated with respect and paid fairly for their contributions. Every project was completed according to specifications that prioritized both efficiency and safety. The contrast with my former family company could not have been more stark. The experience had been devastating to her ego, but it had also taught her valuable lessons about the difference between education and experience, between confidence and competence. The most surprising development had been Amanda's gradual transformation from an entitled and manipulative person into someone who was beginning to understand the value of honest work and realistic expectations. 8 months after her professional collapse, she had called to ask if we could meet for coffee, not to request help or money, but to offer a genuine apology for the pain her actions had caused. "Bryce," she said, sitting across from me at a small cafe near her new workplace, "I need you to know that I understand now how wrong I was about everything. Watching you succeed, while I had to rebuild my entire life from nothing, taught me more about leadership and integrity than my MBA ever did." Her apology was comprehensive and specific. She acknowledged that she had been jealous of my technical skills and client relationships. She admitted that she had deliberately tried to damage my reputation because she felt threatened by my competence. She recognized that her sense of entitlement had blinded her to the value of the work I had been doing and the relationships I had been building. "I used to think that having a fancy degree meant I was automatically qualified to run things," Amanda continued. "But working as an assistant has shown me how much skill and knowledge goes into even the simplest tasks. I spent years looking down on people who didn't have formal education, never realizing that experience and integrity matter more than credentials." The conversation was difficult but healing. I failed as both a father and a businessman, and I lost everything I worked to build because I couldn't see past my own prejudices. His acknowledgement of responsibility was important, but what mattered more was his recognition that our future relationship would have to be built on mutual respect rather than hierarchical authority. He could no longer expect me to accept his decisions without question, and I could no longer pretend that family loyalty required tolerating injustice or incompetence. The life lesson that emerged from this painful experience was profound and transformative. I learned that sometimes walking away with dignity is more powerful than fighting to prove yourself to people who refuse to see your worth. I discovered that building something new from your own vision and values is more fulfilling than trying to fix something that others have broken through their own poor choices. Most importantly, I realized that success built on integrity and competence is sustainable in ways that success built on manipulation and favoritism never can be. Amanda's shortcuts had led to spectacular failure, while my commitment to honest work and genuine relationships had created opportunities I never could have imagined when I was trapped in the family business. As I watched the sunset from my office window, I reflected on how being kicked out of my family's house had actually been the best thing that ever happened to my career and my character. The pain of betrayal had forced me to discover my own strength and independence. The injustice of false accusations had motivated me to build something better than what I had lost. Standing in my own company, surrounded by employees who respected my leadership and clients who valued my expertise, I felt genuine peace, knowing that I had chosen integrity over family pressure, competence over politics, and building my own success over accepting other people's limitations. The empty desk, that had once represented rejection and failure, had become a symbol of liberation and new possibilities. Sometimes the best response to being pushed out is to build something so much better that everyone realizes what they lost when they chose to believe lies over evidence, favoritism over fairness, and manipulation over genuine achievement. Have you ever been in a situation where family loyalty conflicted with standing up for what you knew was right? How did you handle the choice between keeping peace and defending your integrity? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you or reminded you of your own experiences with workplace betrayal or family favoritism, please give it a like to help others find it. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about overcoming injustice and building success through integrity and hard work. And if you know someone who's dealing with similar challenges in their family or career, please share this story with them. Thank you for listening. And remember that sometimes the most painful setbacks become the foundation for your greatest victories.